Happy Thanksgiving!
Happy Thanksgiving.
Dave, what's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
It is not turkey.
Not turkey? That's probably
No.
not mine either. What is your favorite?
uh, Pumpkin pie. Can't you
Oh,
tell?
really? No. But with pumpkin pie, what ratio do you have to have of pumpkin pie to whipped cream?
Pumpkin pie is just a vehicle for the whipped cream because it's not like acceptable to just scoop it out of the tub, I guess.
Yeah. So you need like at least a 50-50 ratio, right?
At least a 50-50 ratio.
I agree when it comes to pumpkin pie. Unless it's pumpkin pie cheesecake, because I've had that and that was pretty tasty. Ben, what's your favorite Thanksgiving type food?
We made gumbo this year.
Is
What?
that Thanksgiving?
It is for us. Made it my Indian wife and I. So I couldn't make it with andouille sausage, so it was a little different 'cause she doesn't eat pork. That's not like a religious thing. They just don't really eat pork in India as a rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we did Thanksgiving.
I see you
this year.
changed your avatar, Ben. Thank you.
I did. Just something very gumbo appropriate.
Yeah, Belisar the Cajun, the movie I make fun of. Now, in all seriousness, Belisar the Cajun wasn't a bad movie. I'm just like, when Ben and I don't get to spend that much time together, so when we're together and we're in my home theater and it's like, let's take advantage of the picture and the sound that the home theater has to offer, and we watch frickin' Belisar the Cajun, which is just sad people in a swamp doing sad shit and looking sad. Like, that's not a home theater event, but
It's
that's
a gumbo
Ben.
western. It's the only gumbo western that I know of.
Which makes it the best one.
Exactly.
My favorite, I love deviled eggs. I just every holiday when we have a meal, I ask Mom to make deviled eggs. She makes them. Everyone else eats one, and then I take all the rest home with me, and they're gone by midnight. So
Oh yeah, I will say King Hawaiian rolls, like the sweet bread dinner rolls. Those are the best.
And we had ham in addition to turkey. And I think most people at my little gathering of 5, yeah, there were 5 of us, immediate family, we like ham. Ham wins. Although there are a few that love turkey enough that we also have to have it every year. And it was good turkey. Turkey's good. I like turkey more as like a cold cut sandwich. If I have to have like a cold cut sandwich, I prefer it to be turkey than any other meat. But like at special events, give me ham, man. Give me the piggy. Piggy tastes good.
We also watched Eli Roth's Thanksgiving with our gumbo.
I kind of wanted to watch that again since you brought it up a few days ago, but I didn't have time to squeeze it in.
It's
Maybe next year.
absolutely my Thanksgiving tradition now to watch that. It's so good.
I like the fake trailer that
Oh
they
yeah,
did for it that inspired it, I guess, because Eli Roth did that fake trailer in Grindhouse, right? The
for
movie.
Grindhouse. Yeah, yeah. They did
That
kind of
was
pull some
funny.
punches compared to the trailer, but it's still awesome.
Well, we're going to get to the news and stuff, but I have to bring up Stranger Things because it's a big freaking deal, guys. Stranger Things, apparently this season 5 was the most expensive season of television ever produced in the history of television.
Wow.
But you have to also keep in mind that it's 8 like hour to 2 hour episodes. So it's like 6 feature films almost. So if you think about it that way, it kind of justifies the huge budget.
Yeah, and
But
there's
it's
a lot of effects.
it's like effects like from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys seen any previous seasons?
I stopped watching after season 2. They were just
Same.
taking so long between
Yeah.
seasons that I just couldn't stay engaged. So
True
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Ben?
and now
My
they're
life was
all
a-
now they're like all old and like 40 and having kids and
Ben, have you deigned to watch any Stranger Things? Or is it too far beneath you?
I haven't watched it since after the second season, and I actually was really excited for it before it was popular, even before the first season ran, because they were talking about it.
Ben liked it before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. After the second season, my life was tumultuous, and I couldn't keep up with it. And now my wife's making me rewatch Gilmore Girls for the second time. We
Well,
aren't really binging any other new series as much as I
Gilmore Girls is a higher quality program through and through
Yeah, it is.
than
It's-
Stranger Things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I watched Stranger Things after it became such a cultural phenomenon, and I liked season 1. I didn't care for seasons 2 or 3 that much, but I made it through them. But season 4 I thought was their best season ever. Like by a long shot. It was really good. Like somehow I thought they pulled their shit together and they figured out how to like evolve this show and its characters and do something way better than it has been. And then I watched the first half of season 1 that they just released last week. And we're not going to review it officially, so I'm just going to say I'm a little disappointed. It wasn't terrible, but it was like 4 to 5 hours long worth of episodes. And it felt like seasons 2 and 3 where they're just kind of running in motion and the characters aren't changing that much. There's a big change at the end, but for hours up to that point, it's like, what's happening? Show me something. Tell me something. Like, we've been there and we've done that. It's not evolving enough. These characters haven't changed. Their relationships haven't changed. Like Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour have had the same exact relationship for like 10 years that the show's been on. It never changes. It never evolves. I love some of the characters, though. So I'm going to finish watching it, of course. I've just got, after season 4, it gave me high hopes, I guess. And maybe the second half of the season is going to be way more impactful and meaningful. It's certainly, they're setting it up to be that way. Linda Hamilton's in it, and I will take Linda Hamilton if and whenever I can find her. But yeah, Dave said the kids are getting old. Man, they look so old. It's funny. It's funny how old they look because they'll have flashbacks to when they were kids that are supposed to, within the story, be like, I think 3 or 4 years earlier. But they shot it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And when you're not even 10 years old, 10 years is like you're a full-blown adult at that point. So like these kids have 5 o'clock shadow and like it's a little disconcerting at times.
80s high school students all over again.
But if you love Stranger Things, I don't mean to yuck your yum. I mean, by all means, love it. I love season 4. I'll always love seasons 1 and 4. And I don't even watch that many TV shows, so the fact that I even watch it at all, I guess says something. But that's all. I wanted to address Stranger Things before we got into movie news. Movie news. Dave, you going to be on Banners tonight?
Oh, yeah, yes. Banners, absolutely.
Don't slack off, Dave. You're here for one job.
That's all I'm good for. And I'm not even good for that. There's your stinking
Sweet.
banner.
So, man, the box office in 2025 has been really, really lame and dire
Iffy.
overall.
Yeah, very iffy.
Before this past weekend, they were saying it was the worst year at the box office since 1981, not adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
Which is even worse than if it were, I think. But Disney had a win, a very big win. Now, what you're seeing on screen here is just the domestic earnings. Domestically, Zootopia 2 came out and made $156 million, which is a good, really good opening for a movie in America. What's phenomenal, though, and I couldn't find a screen to like have the international numbers on it, is that it made $556 million globally since it opened on previews last Tuesday night.
Wow.
So making more than $500 million in less than your first week is a really big deal. Not very many movies can do that. And almost half of that is from China. The really big deal part of it is the China part. Because Hollywood's been chasing China for like 15, 20 years. And for the last 10 years, they have not had very many hits at all in China. China doesn't even let just any movie play in their territory.
Yeah,
They're very selective.
They have a strict quota.
Yeah. And the Chinese audiences, they have like a social credit score over there if you don't know anything about it. So the government is literally observing your viewing habits. And when you go to see a movie, the government knows that you're seeing it in China. And if you see too many American movies, that reflects poorly on your social score. So wrap that around your head for a second. But 556 million globally, 272 million from China. It made more in China than in America by a big margin. America made 156, China 272 million. Moana 2 in America last year made 225, to give you some sort of estimate on how it's doing compared to how movies normally do here in America. Last year, Moana 2 made 225 here in the U.S. 225 versus what Zootopia made here, which was 156. That's quite a drop off. But China, man, Disney, I guarantee you, at this point right now, Disney is having meeting after meeting and launching investigation after investigation to find out what they accidentally did right to do this well in China. And I've heard rumors from sources that usually turn out to be accurate that Disney is about to announce a whole new trilogy of Zootopia movies. Not just part 3, but 3, 4, and 5. Because the money that this made this weekend is something Marvel and Star Wars haven't done in years and years. So I wager Disney right now is looking at Zootopia like they'll just throw Star Wars and Marvel away at this point. Zootopia is everything to them right now. They haven't had a hit like this in a long time. So congratulations, Disney. You did something right. I've actually heard reviews that this movie's not bad. I haven't heard anything saying it's like phenomenal, but not bad for a Disney movie in this day and age is pretty good.
It's kind of ironic that they're discovering an animated film is going to do well for them.
Well, they don't always. They don't, especially in China. And so this China money, this Disney sees a foothold in China now that they haven't had. And if they can maintain this foothold, they're going to go for it. They're going to cater to China 10 ways to Sunday. If that's even a phrase. I think I'm just making it up. So, it's a really big deal. This is Zootopia. How it did. Yeah, the box office is acknowledging it too. And they're saying that Wicked for Good did well, and I guess it did, but when you compare it to how the first Wicked movie did last year, it's not doing as well. The first Wicked made 118 million in its second week, which is what this week is for Wicked Part 2. And Wicked Part 2 only made 93 compared to 118 from last year, and ticket prices have gone up and there's inflation and stuff, so it's not doing as well, but it's not a flop, at least not yet anyway. I don't know how much they spent to make that movie. It's made 393 globally so far. So even that, put that in perspective. Wicked 2 came out 2 weeks ago and globally has made 393. Zootopia hasn't even been out a week and it's made 556. So again, this is just a huge deal. The trades, whenever they do headlines, they skew things. They always make things look better than they are and sometimes worse than they are, but usually they try and make everything sound good because variety's in it for Hollywood. They want everything to work well. So I try to watch other sources of news that keep things in perspective, and for once, they're touting Zootopia being a hit. They're not saying it's a big enough hit. Like, this is huge. It's huge. But I feel like I've belabored it at this point. So we'll move on to the next story. I actually want to see this movie, but I haven't seen the first one yet. I hear Ki-Hai Kwan steals the show as a snake character. So I'm kind of interested.
What was in third place? I know the answer. I just want you to tell everyone.
Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And it only fell 22%, which is really good.
It only fell 22%, but it was it's only at 7 million. So,
well, it made 7 million this weekend, which isn't much. Yeah. So the box office was all Zootopia and Wicked.
I accidentally saw Now You See Me.
Oh, accidentally?
Totally accidentally. I was going to see. I was going to see Wicked for Good. I ordered the tickets on my phone, and it's so small on here. So small.
Oh no.
And so I got into the theater and it was Now You See Me.
Oh no, Dave.
Oh no, indeed.
I had something similar happen with A Quiet Place. I saw that when it released in theaters with my cousin and the local movie, and we sit down and it starts and it's talking about this priest who gets imprisoned for his sermons, and I'm like, what angle are they taking with this that it leads to sound hunting monsters and stuff? And then slowly, like, this title reveals that God's not dead.
Yeah.
We played the wrong movie.
Yeah,
Everybody was
like,
rushing for the lobby.
when Woody Harrelson showed up, I'm like, I didn't know he was in Wicked for Good. But I did. Yes, to answer your next question, I did in fact see Wicked for Good the next night. So,
because otherwise we were going to have to cancel part of the show because you were the only one going to see that one.
That's right.
So
rest assured.
The other there's not a whole lot of news this week, but another one I thought was interesting. Since Disney had some good news, now I have to exploit some bad news about Disney. Is that since they made Deadpool and Wolverine largely in England, and since the tax incentives that they have in England require them to report their spending, we now know, and we usually find out a year to a year and a half after production, how much they actually spent making these movies. Deadpool and Wolverine made $1.3 billion at the box office, so everyone just assumed, oh, that's a hit, right? It might not be, guys. It might not be, because they spent $533.7 million to make it. And it usually has to make twice its budget to make a profit when you consider that theaters split the box office. They get 49% and Hollywood gets 51%. And overseas sales, they usually get like 20% of that. So it's looking like Deadpool and Wolverine, one of the biggest hits of last year, if not the biggest, I don't remember, it might have been the biggest, might not have made a profit. And this is from Forbes, which is a pretty reliable source. So what the hell is it going to take for Hollywood to bring the prices down on what they're spending to make these damned movies? And I didn't bring this article up, but I also just saw that Disney is paying the 3 voice actors for Frozen, Josh Gad, and then 2 women, I can't remember their names, that played the 2. They're paying them each like $60 million.
Yeah, that is crazy.
For 2 more sequels.
I think we know what Hollywood plans to do to bring costs down. And it has 2 initials, AI.
Yeah,
A and I.
A and I.
But I'm just, with that in mind though, what motivates Disney to pay 3 actors tens of millions of dollars? I think it was it 30 or 60? I can't remember now, honestly. I think they each got 60 million each to do 2 more movies. Today, when movies like Deadpool and Wolverine have to make $2 billion to turn a profit, like it just boggles my mind. I don't know what it's going to take for Hollywood to stop spending this kind of money. So yeah, that's Disney's. That was my hate on Disney moment for the week.
There'll be more.
It's so easy to do. I also wanted to update everybody on this Warner Brothers thing, because it's a big deal who ends up owning Warner Brothers. It could change the way we look at the way Hollywood releases things. Hollywood could change after we find out who owns Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers is one of the biggest reservoirs of intellectual property, and everybody wants to tap into that shit.
The last I saw, there was a bid from an investment firm in Saudi Arabia.
Oh yeah,
that's scary.
I saw that, and that I don't like that at all.
No, me neither.
But this article says that there are 3 main players, and they all put in bids on November 20th. And their second bids, because basically Warner Brothers said we want more, so they're all putting in new bids that are due tomorrow, the 1st. And the 3 possibilities are Paramount Skydance, which just merged, Comcast Universal, and Netflix.
Huh.
Comcast Universal would be interesting because of the theme parks.
Yeah.
Right.
They already do pretty much whatever they want, but they have to pay for it.
Yeah, I bet Netflix wants it really bad, though.
I've heard that they're probably not going to get it, but who knows? But Netflix, if they get it, it scares the industry more than if anyone else gets it.
Yeah.
Because Netflix has a reputation of not wanting to play things in theaters. But someone at Netflix has said if they do acquire Warner Brothers, they promise they're going to leave Warner Brothers alone. They're still going to release things in theaters. But I'm like,
we've heard that before, though.
Yeah. And another thing, whenever these big companies merge, their output becomes less. Think about Fox. how many Fox movies are there a year? Like 3
Yeah.
now that Disney owns them? They were doing more than 3 movies a year when they owned themselves. So I don't know that all this conglomeration is a good thing, but it's imminent. It's imminent. Warner Brothers is going to be owned by someone shortly, and we will definitely announce on our show who that ends up being. The last little bit of news I wanted to hit on tonight was about Avatar, because we are just a couple of weeks away from the premiere of Avatar Fire and Ash, the 3rd Avatar movie. And it's not tracking in a spectacular way, but it's not as scary as it might seem. Although James Cameron has said a few things that kind of make you wonder what he may or may not know. So it's opening on December 19, and we'll be reviewing it on the show here 3 weeks from tonight, because I'm going to go see it no matter what. I hope at least one of you will go see it too. But
Ben, you're up.
Ben's up.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for an excuse to go back to the theater.
I enjoyed the first 2 enough to want to go see it in a theater at least, but I rarely ever want to watch them in repeats. Keep this in mind. Keep these numbers in mind. The first Avatar came out in 2009.
That was the last time I watched an Avatar movie.
You didn't see the second one yet?
No.
Well, you better watch it before you watch this one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be confused. But it made $77 million in its opening weekend, which isn't a whole lot. But the movie went on to make $3 billion globally. The second Avatar opened at $134 million, but they were thinking it would make between 150 and 175. So Avatar 2 actually came in under projections, but it still went on to make $2.3 billion worldwide and is the 3rd highest grossing film of all time. The first Avatar is the top grossing film of all time. Part 2 is the 3rd grossing. I actually don't know what the second one is, but it's probably a Marvel movie, I imagine. So right now they're saying the 3rd one's going to come in with 110, which is even less than the second one made its opening weekend, which is a little disconcerting. But if you keep in mind that the first and second movies, despite how enormous they ended up being, they're really not opening weekend movies, which is kind of a strange thing. Because most movies, like Marvel movies and Star Wars movies and other big type blockbuster things, they start out huge and they get progressively smaller. But Avatar movies have legs like other things don't, so maybe that's going to help it, even though they're saying this is kind of a lackluster opening. The other things I think we should keep in mind going into this weekend is that James Cameron was on a podcast recently and said going to the movies on this article by Chris McPherson, he says, we're at about 75% of what moviegoing was in 2019. And he credits that largely to COVID and streaming as obstacles that we have not yet overcome. And he's also concerned about sequelitis, thinking the audiences might not perceive the 3rd movie as the culmination of a trilogy, the way they do something like Lord of the Rings. He didn't say how much the movie needed to make, but he did say it needs to make 1 metric fuck ton of money. Which means we have to make 2 metric fuck tons of money to make a profit. I have no doubt this movie will make money. The question is, does it make money enough to justify doing it again? I've been in Avatar land for 20 years, actually 30 if you count when I wrote it. If this is where it ends, cool. So James Cameron is like planting the seed in everyone's minds that a 4th and 5th Avatar movie are not done deals. They've shot some of Avatar 4, but they haven't done any post-production on it, which on these movies is everything. And if he doesn't see that this movie is going to make enough profit, he says he'll just write a book to wrap up all the loose story ends. So I thought that was interesting. The other interesting thing that happened was that Disney had its shareholder meeting about 2 weeks ago, and they have a weird schedule. Their end of year was actually last month, and the quarter that Avatar's coming out in is actually the first quarter of next year for them. And they told their shareholders to expect the company to make $400 million less in the quarter in which an Avatar movie is opening than this quarter last year. which doesn't sound that good. Although
No.
they don't make as much money as James Cameron does with these Avatar movies, but they make something. I don't know what it is. I have never been able to find out the percentage cut between Lightstorm Entertainment and Disney with these, but that didn't sound good either. So I'm almost like wondering, did they test this thing and it didn't do well? I don't know. Like, all of a sudden I'm very curious, even more so than I already was, about how this Avatar movie was going to do, because we're all kind of constantly confused as to why these movies have done so well. They're not that great.
No, have you watched the trailer, the most recent trailer?
I don't watch hardly any trailers anymore. I think I saw one in a theater before something played.
It doesn't really have a hook. I didn't see anything that compelled me to want to see this movie. It looks like the last trailer, which looked like the trailer before that. So, I don't know.
The second one, I was underwhelmed by the second one. I enjoyed it enough to finish it, but I haven't wanted to rewatch it. And I felt sort of the same way after the first one. So, I don't know if that bodes well.
Well, I want to see what else James Cameron can do, in his career, because we have a finite amount of time with these legendary sci-fi directors. I'm kind of ready for him to move on to another project, because I just don't get anything from Avatar. I mean, visually it's impressive, but even in 2009, when everyone was losing their minds, I just didn't get it, what the appeal was.
I mean, it's less visually impressive because there are other movies out there that kind of do a quality approaching this, CGI has overwhelmed movies as of late. I'm sorry if I burp all over the audience tonight. I'm drinking tea.
I guess a lot of ground was being broken at that time with visual effects between like 300s and CD and Avatar. But
Cameron's 71 years old right now. If things go according to plan, Part 4 will come out in 2029, which seems like a long time from now. And Part 5 would be in 2031. So he'd be almost 80.
Wow.
So maybe he's like thinking, do I really want to spend my last remaining years on Earth making these damned Avatar movies?
Yeah,
is he giving himself an out, maybe?
Write the book, man. Just write the book.
I don't want to make it seem like I hate the Avatar movies, because I don't. I actually think they're a very different kind of movie. And if there were more movies like them, I would say they're part of a movement to turn movies less of a storytelling narrative into more of an experiential experience, for lack of a better term. Because the reason you watch an Avatar almost isn't for the story or the characters. There is story and characters, and there are aspects of that I appreciate it. But the main reason to go is to live somewhere fantastic and see fantastic things, hear fantastic things. It's that kind of it's almost like an amusement park ride more than a movie, which is one of the reasons why these movies do so well in premium formats and the seats that shake and all that stuff. So I guess we'll see how it does in a couple of weeks, although Dave won't. Dave's already made up his mind. He is anti-Avatar. And Ben and I will be the avatars buying tickets.
You sure will.
You can have Wicked. We'll take Avatar. Let's go on to Collector's Corner, gentlemen. This is the biggest news in home video in a long time, and if you ask me. People have been craving a nice, not just a release of Excalibur, but a restoration of Excalibur. If you've ever seen this movie, it's gorgeous, but it looks like crap. And you can tell it just has always deeply needed a restoration. The way it looks, there's a lot of soft focus and haze and stuff. And I hope they're saying it's a groundbreaking restoration. So I hope it lives up to that, because this movie has been in dire need of visual restoration, like very few other movies. Like there's this and The African Queen, and I don't know what else, that were in deep need of restorations. And finally, Arrow Video is going to put out John Borman's 1981 fantasy film Excalibur, which is a film I almost love. I really like it, and I almost love it. It's a little bit long. It's got a little bit of an anticlimactic ending, but man, it's gorgeous, and it's fun. It's got a great cast. It's got great music, and it's beautiful to look at. So I'm very stoked about this release. Stoked enough to tell you about all the stuff that's in it. It's the first time it's going to be presented in its original aspect ratio of 1:66 to 1. I didn't know that. So apparently in previous editions, we've been missing imagery at the top and bottom of the image.
Interesting.
It's going to have a theatrical cut and a TV cut. I never care about the TV cuts, but hey, more the merrier. And like Arrow always does, there's going to be a book inside it. There's going to be a poster. There's going to be postcards, Dolby Vision, 5.1 audio, a couple of new commentary tracks, in addition to an archival one with John Borman. But this one excites me the most. Apparently, in 1981, Neil Jordan, the director of stuff like The Crying Game and Interview with the Vampire, was on set, and he made a 48-minute documentary called The Making of Excalibur, Myth into Movie, that has never before been released. And so that's going to be on this set. And then there's other brand new featurettes that you can see listed right there. If you want to get the whole rundown of what's going to be on this release, you can check out the listings for this on boutique stores like Orbit DVD, Grindhouse DVD, or Diabolic DVD. I highly recommend those 3 stores. And it comes out February 24th. So I pre-ordered the shit out of this. You can rest assured that if our show's still going strong in February, I will review it on the show proximate to that release. I hope we're still going. And it's also got a 50-minute retrospective documentary on it as well. And I don't know of that. So I'm like, I've had Excalibur a few times and there's no 50-minute documentary that I've ever seen for it. So that must have been released somewhere, but I don't know where.
Probably on Laserdisc or something.
Possibly. And then Arrow is also releasing on the same day, February 24th, Westworld. And that's going to be a brand new restoration from the camera negative as well. And brand new commentary track with a filmmaker and film historian. Some conversations with filmmakers. Some new featurettes, including a new interview with actor James Brolin. A pilot episode for a TV show that probably was from the 70s, I imagine. I did not pre-order this one, but I'm thinking about pre-ordering it because I've never seen it, so I don't know if I'm going to like it. So I might try and watch this at some point. Good. I imagine I'll like it. I just don't know if I'm going to love it enough to want to buy it, but we'll see.
As somebody who watched the series, like the newer one with Anthony Hopkins and stuff, like watching this original film is just, in my opinion, so much better. It just hits all the cool notes for me, and it was just it's shocking how ahead of its time it was. Yeah, and this one was actually directed by Michael Crichton. Wasn't it?
I think it was.
So it has a lot of the same beats as Jurassic Park, but it's also got shades of Terminator, like way before we got those things. And it's so cool.
I liked the first season of the new TV show that was on a few years back, but the second season lost me and I never finished it. And then we just talked about this movie on our big 1980 show last week, but Arrow's releasing it in February as well. The Visitor on 4K. And they're releasing the movie that Begonia. Have you guys watered your begonias lately? Nope.
No.
Frozen.
They'll die if you don't water them. So the movie that inspired Begonia, Save the Green Planet, they're also putting that out in February. And I hear that this Korean film is better than Begonia by a lot of people. I don't know. I think I might actually be interested in seeing it. And they're putting out American Yakuza on February 17th as well. Kino Lorber, the fine folks at Kino Lorber, they do the Lord's work at Kino Lorber. In January, is putting out Guillermo del Toro's Mimic, and it's going to include the theatrical cut and the director's cut. I don't like this movie.
Yeah, I remember liking it a lot more in the past when I watched it, but I rewatched it recently, and it was a little underwhelming. But I just love the idea so much that it still has a special place.
And then Kino, like, you know how they like to announce things, and you don't know when you're going to get it. Could be next year, could be 10 years from now. The Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. I thought this was interesting because this is just a movie that's not had a very good history on home video at all. And they're only going to do Blu-ray for it, but that's good enough for me. Like, better and to have it in any format than not at all. I was a big River Phoenix fan growing up, and I was pretty devastated when he died. I was like, what? So, and this is a pretty good movie. It's not a great movie, but if you like River Phoenix, you'll like it. And The Island is another movie we just talked about last week on our big 1980 show that Kino Lorber has also said they are working on. Criterion Network. Ben and I watched Network together when you were here a year or so ago.
Mm.
And I just adore that movie. It's one that I came to later in life, like maybe 10 years ago I saw it. And just fell hard in love with it. And I've seen it like 5 times since, including the time with you. And I love it more every time I see it. I love every actor in that movie. I think Network's actually where I fell in love with William Holden, because that's my favorite William Holden performance. So Network I pre-ordered the shit out of. And A Woman Under the Influence, I was kind of on the fence because I love Jenna Rollins and she's really good in that movie, but I don't know how many times I could watch that movie because it's upsetting. But I thought this, with Network and A Woman Under the Influence, it was a pretty good batch. And I know a lot of people are excited about a Coen Brothers movie, The Man Who Wasn't There. And 3:10 to Yuma, I've only seen the remake of that. I haven't seen the original. And then there's some artsy-fartsy movies that I haven't seen. Battle Royale has come out many times, but I don't think it's ever been on 4K. And Lionsgate Limited, in just a week or so, is releasing it on their Lionsgate Limited website.
Lionsgate on fire with these releases.
Yeah, and they do good work, man. At least the packaging's always really good. Transfers are usually good, sometimes not as good. But this was a good movie, and I'd kind of like to have this. I don't own it yet, so this would be the one to get. And then some traditional, everyday Hollywood studio shit's coming out. December, Begonia will be out. And Tron Ares, which I doubt very many people are going to be wanting to buy, is coming out in early January. And Ordinary People. We just talked about this one last week, too. The Blu-ray's out of print. I didn't realize the Blu-ray was out of print. So Paramount is putting it back in print at the end of January, January 27th, with much, much better artwork. So I will be buying this just to have the better artwork. The artwork on the previous edition is some Photoshop nasty crap. I wish I could drive to Hollywood and spank whoever put that shit together, because they deserve a big spanking. Ordinary People, buy that shit. And then, of course, we have VHS releases, because for some ungodly reason that I'll harp on every show, there are still people who like to buy VHS. So Thanksgiving from Eli Roth, coming to VHS courtesy of TerrorVision during the first quarter of next year.
I had just rewatched the movie and then I saw this and I was so tempted, but I don't know. The artwork was the only thing that gave me pause, along with the fact that I was already making a lot of other irresponsible Black Friday, Cyber Monday decisions. So
and I bet
this one didn't make the cut, but
do you remember how much it was?
$30 before shipping and taxes.
Yeah, I could buy a Blu-ray for that. Some 4Ks even. Then we have Vinegar Syndrome. They've upset a lot of people by announcing Troll 2. On one hand, I'm like, well, this is what they usually release. Crap. Vinegar Syndrome likes to polish turds. Troll 2 is a turd. Why aren't Vinegar Syndrome people happy? Well, some are, some aren't. I don't know why. I feel like in Vinegar Syndrome circles, the fan base is kind of splitting. Half the people are becoming disappointed with their releases, and half are like, yeah, this is what we want. So I don't know what's going on. Troll 2 is so bad, it's kind of awesome. But I do not need to own this.
Yeah. Vinegar Syndrome's kind of hit. I don't know if it's so much splitting as they've expanded their market so much that they're getting, I guess, for lack of a better term, normal people who are expecting more like higher quality releases to match the packaging. But they've made their fortune up to this point just taking bad movies and giving them beautiful artwork, frankly. I always thought this one had kind of a devout cult following for how bad it is. And I would have thought, yeah, it's perfect for Vinegar Syndrome in that way. But
maybe, I don't know. It's kind of something I don't know and appreciate. But I do watch a lot of YouTube channels, and I know a lot of people, they watch Vinegar Syndrome more closely than any other label. Like, this is the shit to a lot of people. And so I just don't have as much invested in any label. I don't have label loyalty. I've noticed a lot of collectors actually sort their movie shelves by label. And I'm like, wow, that's a whole level of OCD that even I'm not I'm not that way. Like, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I sort mine by label, but I don't have a huge amount from any one label. Like, so I think Criterion's the one I have the most of, followed by Kino Lorber. But other than that, I just have kind of a handful from each.
So Troll 2. And then, of course, they're also putting out a VHS of one of the shittiest fucking movies I've ever seen. Demon Wind. Demon Wind. I'm going to look at my review of Demon Wind.
It's a stinker.
Demon Wind. I gave this a 2. Demon Wind, first off, is not about farts. If it were, it would most assuredly be a more interesting movie.
I love that cassette.
Yeah. And then I compared it to Troll 2. I said the acting is wooden at all times, but not quite on the delightfully awful level of Troll 2. No, Demon Wind is merely bad. So I gave it a 2 out of 10, and I don't give out very many 2s and hardly any 1s. So Demon Wind was just really abysmal in my opinion, and I don't know who the hell would want to own this, much less on the shittiest format that ever existed, VHS.
So this particular package goes for about 45 to 50, I think, on the Vinegar Syndrome, because it's got like this LED thing on the inside that lights up the tape that's transparent.
There's an LED in it? Well, hey, that's something.
Yeah, in the case, yeah. From my understanding.
I didn't know that. That's something.
That's why the tape is like transparent like that.
Gosh. Oh, gosh. And then Cauldron, a label that I don't own anything from because they don't usually put out anything that I want, is doing a Lucio Fulci movie, Conquest.
I have a history with this one.
Ben likes Conquest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you were mentioning how Excalibur, which I haven't seen, has like a really like missed, like you said, it was out of focus and like fuzzy or
on purpose though.
Well, yeah, this film on purpose has a very misty picture. That's the best way I can describe it. I picked up a Code Red release, or no, I picked up a Blue Underground release on DVD. And I thought it was just that transfer from Blue Underground that was awful or something. I said, oh my God. Well, I'm a fan of Fulci, and I had no idea he did a sword and sorcery film. So I wanted to check it out. But then, again, bad Blue Underground DVD, or at least I thought at that time. I picked up a Code Red one, which was just as bad, but it also had like the Banana Man tacked onto the front of the feature. Like you couldn't even skip it. Some skit. I don't know if you know about that, where they have.
I've heard of it, but I've never experienced it.
It's awful. It's right tacked on, like it's not even an extra or anything. So I had to sell that back on eBay and then get the Blue Underground one again. And it turns out that was the best to date. So I'm very curious to know if this one is still as misty and hard to see. Otherwise, I mean, it is a cool film. It's just you can't make it out.
This is way down low on my to see list. So knock yourself out, Ben. Soundtrack wise, there were a couple of announcements, but none of them were very interesting. So I'm only picking one, and that is because it's a Jerry Goldsmith score. Not a particularly good movie, but even when the movie was shit, Jerry Goldsmith still gave it his all. So they're expanding King Solomon's Mines over at La La Land Records, and that'll be out in late December. You can pre-order it now at their website. And this book is a reprint, a hardcover reprint of The Making of Superman the Movie from 1978. And I just thought it was interesting that anyone would reprint a hardcover edition of any of these old mass market paperbacks that used to flood grocery store shelves in the 70s and 80s. I loved those things. I collect those things. I don't think I have this one actually. But I went to this website. It's only available for pre-order at capedwonderautographs.com, and I think it's like $40 or $50. It ain't cheap. So that's out of my price range. I wouldn't pick it up for that much. But man, if this was like a $10 or $20 book, I'd probably buy it. And in terms of collectibles, I couldn't find very much of interest. This is actually something that came out in September, but I haven't featured it on the show yet, I don't think. My memory's so awful. Maybe I did. That'd be embarrassing. Do you guys remember seeing a Lego Gizmo on a previous show?
Gizmo. I don't think so. No.
All right, good. Well, it's out there. I think it's like $110 because it's Lego.
Yeah, that's actually not bad for...
I collect gizmos, so if anyone out there feels like dropping $110 on a Christmas present,
I mean, it's not bad for Lego. I mean, as a collectible, it's a lot, but especially for their licensed stuff that they had for their adult line now. It's pretty zesty usually.
What's the
It-
adult line, Ben?
Well, it's like the more complex sets that have a premium price point, and usually they've been
Oh, it's not
licensing.
dirty.
No,
Okay. It's like Lego genitals? Is that what they're doing? And then, let's play our little video for this. A lot of movies coming out next weekend, and I don't want to see any of them.
I don't either.
But if you're, and it sucks because the last time I went to see a movie was something we reviewed recently. What was it, guys? Oh, Predator Badlands.
yeah,
And I'd have to drive an hour to get to any theater. There is no movie theater within an hour of me where I live right now. So I drove to Louisville, Kentucky to see it, and the theater was so nice that when I got home, I joined their program that's like $13 or $14 a month, where you get one free movie ticket and you get 20% off concession items. And I need an excuse to go back because I really enjoyed this theater. The Cinemark Tinseltown in Louisville is phenomenal. It is so clean. It's not a new theater, but it looks new. The staff was great. The concession stand I had more offerings than I've ever seen anywhere. They had 100 different candies, I swear to God. They had chips. They had hot dogs and pretzels and ices and alcohol and everything. And toys. There were toys in the aisle to get your concessions that you could buy. So this theater just blew me away, and all the seats are really comfortable too. So I need an excuse to go there, and I still don't have one. I think it's going to be Avatar before I go back. Next weekend, probably the biggest movie opening is Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I never saw Five Nights at Freddy's 1. I'm not opposed to seeing Five Nights at Freddy's. I just feel like it's the kind of movie that I've already imagined in my mind, and that I doubt the execution of it is going to surprise me at all.
it's a video game movie, right?
I didn't know it was based on a video game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I was born in the 1900s. I don't know
I know.
these
It's
things.
just I was surprised that you said you'd be interested, because usually it's anathema to you, video game.
It looks like just a it looks like just a slightly clever spin on a slasher movie. But this was a video game?
Yeah, you play as a security guard on the night shift inside of a Chuck E. Cheese, but the animatronics are haunted and homicidal, and you have to watch the cameras so they don't get you. That's pretty much the whole loop of the game, and it just hit Gen Z like a bomb. And I'm surprised that they didn't do better with. I didn't see the films; it's the first one, but I heard it was pretty middling. I'm surprised
It did well enough to make a sequel.
I guess.
So at some point I might see these movies, but they're not high on my list. And then we have Fackham Hall, which looks like maybe a funny British type movie. I don't know, and I won't know unless some friends see it and recommend it to me, because I don't recognize any of these people. Hamnet, actually, if I were going to go see one, I saw a trailer for Hamnet before Predator Badlands when I went, and I like Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal. I really like Jessie Buckley in Men, because she carries that movie, and Paul Mescal kind of blew me away in All of Us Strangers. Chloe Zhao is the director. I know of her from The Eternals and Nomadland. And I haven't seen Nomadland. It always looked really dull and boring to me, but I do need to check it out since it won Best Picture. The director doesn't excite me, but the cast and the concept does. It's about William Shakespeare and his life while he was conceiving Hamlet. And it looked pretty. But that looked more interesting than any of the other shit coming out this weekend. There's a Doors documentary called When You're Strange. And Man Finds Tape. I don't know anything about that, but I see laurels on it, so that makes me think people are going to probably stay away from it, because laurels are the kiss of death to mass audiences. I've heard that from a lot of different people. And Merrily We Roll Along looks like an interesting cast, because I like Jonathan Groff And Harry Potter always picks some interesting material. Like, he's kind of a fearless little actor. But it looked like it was a stage play, and the trailer that I saw for it made it look like they were just filming the stage play. So I'm not sure I grasp why they're making a movie version of it. So I'm not eager to see that one right now. Need more info.
Having run a film festival, your comment about the laurels is really funny, because I remember how filmmakers, when we would hand out awards, would be so invested in getting those laurels for their movies.
Well, it is cool when you're how filmmakers like that are. Like, to me, they're cool. But if you get to a certain level of success where your movies have the potential to hit like the Walmart crowd, the laurels then become a bad thing.
They do.
Because to lay people, they see laurels and they're like, oh, that's some shit I won't understand. But then we have 100 Nights of Hero. Bougie. Too bougie for the Walmart crowd. I don't know anything about this movie on the left. I can tell that the movie on the right is anime, and it's not even a movie. It's like the premiere of season 3. But this is playing in the theater. All these movies that I'm talking about right now, these are at the movie theater that I go to. I decided I was only going to tell people on our show about the movies that were playing where I could get to them. Because if you go to Rotten Tomatoes or something, they're going to list like 3 times the movies, but 2/3 of them are never going to play anywhere where you can see them. But these two are playing. I don't know anything about them. Don't plan on seeing them. Anime, I'm not a fan. God bless all the people who are. You're really turning it into like a big, big thing here in America. Knock yourselves out. Maybe someday I'll check it out, but not right now. And then Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, opens this weekend as well. 4.5 hours with an intermission. I would rather stay at home and watch my 4Ks. You gentlemen going to see any of these next weekend?
Nope.
Staying home. Well, that's fair, I suppose.
I mean, I might want to see Kill Bill, just the novelty of an intermission film. I do enjoy that, and then also just my whole love-hate Tarantino thing I got going on, but just trying to give that one another chance, but...
You need re-education badly. Like, I even asked Google, after you said that Tarantino is into improv, I Googled it, and it's like, no. Tarantino is so opposed to improv because he's like a screenwriter, and all the people that work with him, it's all very centered around his written word. He has, in a few instances, permitted improvisation, but he is not known for it, and it is...
Well, those few instances tend to be some of the
movies.
best scenes in his films, it seems like, from what I understand.
I think he's writing that stuff, dude. The stuff you're thinking of, he probably wrote. He is a writer.
He must have had a ghostwriter on his Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novel, because that one was a stinker.
Well, I haven't read the novel.
I read bits and parts of it because my friend got it at an outlet somewhere for major discount. And
Ben, Ben, every
it read
show,
like somebody who's used to writing movie scripts. Let's put it that way.
I was making some chicken rings for dinner an hour before the show, and I was pouring my honey mustard sauce and getting ready to dip, and I was like, you know what? I need to be nicer to Ben. I pick on him too much. I love him, but I got to be nicer to him. I got to stop picking on him. It's mean to tell people they have shitty taste in movies. So I'm going to continue to try to fight that fight. But
yeah, like I said, I'll give him benefit of the doubt where it did read like somebody who writes movie scripts was trying to write a novel, but the way
you're coming at Tarantino all wrong. If we can't have a show on Tarantino. We can't. It would become
we absolutely could. It would
become a bloodbath. It would just not be good.
It would be like a trial, and I'd be the defendant, and I'd have to make my case.
You would be tarred and feathered and dragged through the streets. So, Dave's the only one who's seen the Wicked movies. Before we review them, though, I just wanted to say a couple of things about Oz movies in general. There have been over 50 of them. And even by the time they made the 1939 version with Judy Garland, which is the most famous of all of them, there had already been 10. So it was written in 1900, I think, is when it came out.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of sequel books that came out in the ensuing years. So there were silent versions and black and white versions before the 1939 classic. And we're only reviewing like 5 of them tonight, but there are others. But these, I think, are the most popular 5, probably. And I also want to mention that the latest incarnation, Wicked, is the only version that's been a hit right out of the gate. It's the only one that's made money, that's turned a profit right out of the gate. Return to Oz, that we're going to review, as a flop. The Wiz, that we're going to review, was a big flop. And The Wizard of Oz from 1939 cost so much money at the time that it did not make profit in its initial theatrical run, and really only became famous and well-loved in the 50s when they started airing it on television. So I just wanted to say that couple of things before we let Dave talk a bunch, because Dave is the only one who has seen Wicked, and I think that Dave is probably the right guy amongst the 3 of us to talk about these movies. Although I was going to watch it, Dave. I was going to watch Wicked 1 if it was on Netflix.
It was not.
But it's not. So I couldn't watch it in the theater, and I don't want to watch anything on a normal TV. But I know you like Wicked, but why don't you briefly synopsize it and try and sell it to me and Ben? Try and make us want to watch this movie, Dave.
Oh, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can really sell it to you guys or not. I'm here to champion the musicals, and I can't. I don't know. I think it's one of those kind of like visceral things. You either like it or you don't. You're either into those things or you're not. So I'm not sure that I can sell you. I will give you a synopsis on Wicked 1, though. So it's Wicked Part 1 is directed by John Chu, and it's the origin story of Elphaba. Do you guys know where Elphaba comes from, where that name comes from?
I know she's the Wicked Witch, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know where the name comes from.
The name is actually it's based on L. Frank Baum's initials, so it's like a kind of a phonetic pronunciation of L. Frank Baum, so Elphaba. And so that part's played by Cynthia Erivo. I think that's how you pronounce her name.
I think
and so she's the green-skinned girl that becomes the Wicked Witch, and she kind of forges an unlikely friendship with her popular roommate, who is Ariana Grande's character, Galinda. And in the movie, or in the Broadway show, it's pronounced Galinda. And they attend Shiz University to become witches. Shiz University, yeah.
Okay.
They're, basically they're opposites, and their personalities clash. Galinda is, more interested in kind of like chasing the spotlight. She's more interested in the superficial. And Elphaba is more serious and is actually the one that has powers. And she ends up becoming an exile after discovering that the wizard, as we know, is a fraud and is responsible for the persecution of the sentient animals of Oz. So that is basically the synopsis of Part 1.
Tell me more about the execution of animals?
Persecution. There's no execution.
Oh, persecution of
that
animals.
Would be horrible.
Why are they persecuting animals?
Because the animals can talk, and they have opinions, and they kind of know that the wizard is a fraud, and so.
Oh, so the animals know this, but the humans in the city don't.
That is correct. As is often the case, animals are more perceptive.
Right. Interesting. Because I've been hearing about animal cruelty in regards to this movie, but I had no idea how they were able to get that angle. So that's news. That's news to me.
One of the things that both movies have been kind of criticized for is being political.
Everything's
everything is political now. Well, so and that's a lot of where that comes from.
To be fair, the original novel was political as well.
It was.
Everything's a product of its socio-political economic time. And we live in a particularly shitty socio-political economic time. But go on, Dave. Tell us more about Part 1.
So my review of it, there are good things and bad things. I think a lot of the criticism that it got is probably kind of warranted. I thought the pacing was not particularly even. It drags a little bit here and there, especially during like the longer musical scenes. But the score is amazing, and it spawned that big hit with Defying Gravity, which was on the radio. And
isn't this movie like 1,000,000 years long too?
I knew you were going to say that. It is a little long, you know.
How long? Wasn't it like 3.5 hours?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it's quite that long, is it?
I'm gonna look up I'm gonna look up Wicked on IMDb. That's one of the reasons I always hesitate to see anything, because my butt gets numb. Like, I have to really love what you're doing if I'm gonna make my butt fall asleep. It is 2 hours and 40 minutes, which isn't 3 hours, but
it's
that's
close.
That's still kind of long.
Nothing. I saw the 3-hour cut of Midsummer in wooden seats,
Oh,
random
man.
theater in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Talking about numb butts.
I didn't want to bring up the length because I really would like for you to see it, but
It'll happen. I do actually want to see the first one because I've watched some other people.
It is visually, it's visually amazing. If nothing else, I think you'll love the visuals of it. It's the set design is beautiful. The colors are beautiful. It's got a lot going for it. If you are a fan of the Broadway original, it is a decently faithful adaptation of the original. I haven't seen the original, so I'm just going by what I've heard, but that's what I've heard. But it did get a lot of criticism for being a two-parter. Kind of, people were talking about it being like a money grab. I was aware of that going into it, but a lot of people, when I saw the first film and it got to the end and it was to be continued, a lot of people kind of like groaned in the theater, the people who were not aware. So
they pulled a Dune.
Yeah.
Because they didn't advertise Dune or Wicked as being part one. They just called it Dune and Wicked. And it's like, haha, psych, you only get the first half.
That's what happened.
So what would you give this movie on a 1 to 10?
Man, I would absolutely give it a 7.
Ta-da! A 7's not bad. I do plan to see this one. I like a lot of the people that are in it, Jeff Goldblum being one of them, and I also like Jonathan Bailey. And I've heard that the two women are phenomenal in this movie.
They have great chemistry. Yeah, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo have great chemistry.
They're just weird in real life.
They are. Yeah, if you've watched any of the promotional tour with them together, they are weirdly kind of connected at the hip now.
I don't want to get conspiratorial on our show, but there are people out there now saying that these two women are actually romantically involved.
They may
to some extent.
Yeah, they may be. They're very close.
When Cynthia sees people touching Ariana in the background, you'll see her get like a death glare.
Yeah.
Like she's becoming very controlling of Ariana.
To be fair, Ariana Grande did get kind of like attacked recently by like a fan in a crowd when they were like on a press tour, and so Cynthia kind of like jumped to her defense, and I think was like ready to kick this guy's ass. But
she'll go Wicked Witch on your ass.
She'll go Wicked Witch on your ass. Yeah.
So I can hold that. I don't care how I like to say I can separate the art from the artist, so I'm not going to let that stop me from seeing this movie at some point.
But yeah. Jeff Goldblum definitely stands out as Wizard of the Oz, and unfortunately, he doesn't get enough time, in my opinion, in either movie. But I'll watch Jeff Goldblum in anything, and Michelle Yeoh, who's also in the movie.
Yeah, she's also a good one.
Yeah.
Well, we'll segue directly. I wanted to put Wicked 1 first because I figured it would make talking about Wicked 2 easier. But Wicked for Good is what they've called part 2.
Wicked Dose.
And this is the one that just opened in theaters 2 weeks ago and is doing pretty good. So tell us what goes down in this one. Are the two women still friends at the beginning of this one, or where's the relationship at?
They are not. They're not friends, but they're not really friends. At the beginning of this movie, it takes place like an indeterminate amount of time from the first movie. But at this point, Elphaba has been kind of like demonized as the Wicked Witch of the West by Madame Morrible, who is Michelle Yeoh's character. She's kind of like the right hand man of the wizard, or right hand woman in this case. And so she has done this smear campaign against Elphaba, who is now like living in the woods, and she's trying to kind of fight back and like work for animal rights. And while she's being discredited in an attempt to protect the wizard. And meanwhile, Galinda has now been dubbed Galinda the Good. So we now officially have the Wicked Witch of the West, and we have Galinda the Good. They've been officially dubbed, these people, and Galinda basically just becomes a figurehead. She has fake powers that have been kind of like designed for her, including the floating bubble, which is amazing. And
did the wizard do that?
It's all technology. There's no magic. It's all gears and very steampunky, and so there's no magic involved. It's all mechanics, and so all her powers are fake, just like the wizard is fake. And so she kind of owes what she has to the wizard. Okay. And so it's her job is just to be a figurehead and kind of like impress the Aussians and make them believe in the wizard's powers. Now, do we want to go into any spoilers?
Or hell yes, we do. Right after this. Spoil away, Dave. I love spoilers.
I'm not going to really spoil too awful much. I mean, everybody knows how this ends, and it ends just the way every other Wizard of Oz has ended. So there's not a lot to spoil here, but I do have, like one kind of juicy tidbit, which is that Elphaba has there's kind of like a love triangle between Elphaba and between Galinda and Prince Fiero. And Elphaba actually wins out in this romantic triangle, and she has an interlude with Prince Fiero. The juicy parts kind of happen off screen. However, there's been like this kind of viral thing that's happened with that scene because of the cardigan that she wears the morning after they consummate.
I've heard.
Yeah, so now people are calling it the Elphaba sex cardigan. And I'm predicting that it's going to be a much sought after Christmas gift this year. It's become pretty viral. So
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. People have talked about it.
It's pretty cute. Yeah.
Damn. But we're going to go further into spoilers because I've got questions.
Yeah.
I've heard that she turns him into the Scarecrow.
Well, no.
No?
That's not quite true. She does, but it's an accident. It's a total accident. She's trying to save his life. He's been basically lynched. He's been captured and tortured, seemingly to death. And while this is happening, she's casting a spell to save his life. Oh. And in doing so, she inadvertently turns him into the Scarecrow and makes him, I think, kind of immortal.
Huh. So just how dark is this shit?
It is dark. It's much darker than the first film, and that is something that it has been both praised and criticized for. I think it's a better movie. I think it's, and a lot of people don't. I do because it's got better pacing. It's got more action. I like the fact that it's darker. Me personally,
yeah.
The characters that I liked the most from the first get more time, including the wizard, and also including Michelle Yeoh.
Now, I'm a big fan of flying monkeys. Do they get their day? Do they get their moment in the sun?
The flying monkeys do get their day, yeah. Elphaba emancipates them, and so they become her minions. But that's not even the best way to put it, because they become more like her partners, right? She's not trying to be an overlord. She's not trying to, make them her slaves or whatever, yeah.
So at the end of this movie, would you even say that Elphaba is bad? Is she a wicked witch, or is she just completely misunderstood?
She kind of has this weak moment where she decides that, she has been so misunderstood that she's going to kind of like lean into it. If they're going to call me wicked, I'm going to be wicked, And so she kind of leans
That's
into
how I'd be.
Yeah, right. And she kind of leans into that for a while, and but of course she pulls it out at the end. And no, the short answer is no. She's not really wicked.
And the relationship between her and Glinda just is completely deteriorated by the end.
No, actually, they kind of reconcile by the end.
Really?
Yeah,
So,
they are
where
friends.
does this movie end in relationship to the story we all know from the 1939 movie? Because I see that Dorothy, the Tin Man, Scarecrow, they're all in this movie.
They are in this movie. It's kind of funny because they are very much in the periphery. They're not. I kind of made a joke about the fact that I envisioned that the actress who was hired to play Dorothy going and telling all her friends, I've got this part playing an iconic character in one of the biggest movies ever made, and yet you never see her face. You never see Dorothy's face in the movie. She is completely anonymous because that storyline is kind of secondary to, the
Sure.
to the
but
arc
like-
of Elphaba.
So does Wicked for Good go past where the original Wizard of Oz ends?
It
Or
does.
where? Okay.
It does. Yeah, and I'm going to spoil the ending because since
Hey,
since
we
we're
played
going
the
there-
spoiler. I'm going to play it again because I love it.
So, where Wicked for Good kind of goes beyond the original Wizard of Oz is that the original Wizard of Oz kind of ends with the Wicked Witch being killed, and Dorothy getting in the balloon and floating off, and all that does happen in Wicked for Good, but it goes a little bit further in that Elphaba gets reunited with Fiyero, who is now the Scarecrow, because she's still alive. She actually in the scene where the water is thrown on her, all that happens kind of in a like a silhouette, so you kind of see it off camera, and she supposedly dies. However, what's really happened is in a little bit of trickery, she falls through a trap door and she's still alive. She reunites with Fiyero and lives happily ever after.
And they have little green scare children?
And they have little green scare children.
Does this movie have a sense of humor? I've heard the first one does, but does the second one?
It's a more serious movie, and there are some like little inside jokes, and there are some things that if you pay attention, they are like Easter eggs that kind of like harken back to the like the original movie, but it would be a stretch to say that it has a sense of humor. There are little bits, and a lot of them have to do with kind of like with Glinda and her personality and being kind of self-centered and a little oblivious, until she comes around at the end.
I also hear it sets up for a sequel. Did you sense that?
Maybe. I don't think it was.
Not too obvious then?
I don't think it was too obvious. I've seen people say that like on Reddit that they thought that there might be like a Wicked 3, but that would not be. If there was, it would definitely not be in keeping with the Broadway musical. So it would be its whole own thing.
So what are the political elements that people are getting hung up on with these two films? Because
I think it's just the fact that it's kind of like political in general. There's like kind of like some parallels like with the the emperor wearing no clothes, like that kind of thing, and like political leaders putting up a facade but actually being totally ineffectual in the background. And again, all this was part of the original, so it's
right,
like
yeah,
it's nothing new.
novel,
But,
yeah.
but you know how the internet is these days. So
I was just curious to know if there was like modern political elements that were working its way into a
Let's-
story that was.
I mean, I don't think so, but
Okay.
Let's also put out on the table that both, if there's a political divide, and there is, both sides also like to claim that the other side has political issues with things when sometimes they don't. They're just trying to start shit.
they're just trying to start shit. That is absolutely right.
Because I know I watch some channels. I watch channels from both persuasions because I really try these days to get a full picture of who we are and what we're into. And I don't know very many conservatives that don't like these movies. Like, they do like them. I haven't heard any legitimate bitching, but the left likes to sometimes say that they do. And maybe I just haven't witnessed it, but also, man, let's just stop making every movie, viewing it under a political lens. Some movies are meant to do that, but something tells me that the Oz movies, probably that's not what they're for. They're
No.
escapist fare. Dave, what would you give the sequel?
I think I would probably, if we were doing half stars, I'd give it like I would edge it out over the first one and give it like a 7.5. But since we're not, I'll give it another 7. I don't give hardly any 10s, so 7's really good.
Yeah, 7's solid. 7 is solid.
I also want to mention that if this, both these movies were directed by John Chu, and if you are a fan of Crazy Rich Asians and you love like the wedding scene, which is like phenomenal in Crazy Rich Asians, you're gonna love what he does in Wicked 2. There's a great party scene in Wicked 2 that
I'm gonna watch these movies when they put out the 2 movies together in a double Blu-ray or double 4K box set.
I'm sure it will happen.
That's what I'm going to do with these. Well, I think we'll keep going, and we're going to go way back in time now to 1939, one of the greatest years in movie history because of all the classics that came out, not least of which was The Wizard of Oz. Although, as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't as big of a hit when it came out in 1939. It grew in everyone's esteem over the years when it hit television in the 50s. Do you remember seeing this on TV every Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah.
I think by the time Ben was born, they stopped doing it. But I remember in the late 70s and early 80s, you could bank on The Wizard of Oz playing on CBS, if I remember correctly, every Thanksgiving. Like, it was either the Sunday or the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And we looked forward to it every year because in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have VHS, we didn't have cable. The only time you could see this is when it aired on television, unless you were lucky enough to live in some nice place where they had repertory theater screenings. So this was a big event movie for me, like yearly. And I saw it many, many times growing up. Everyone loved this movie. I don't know anyone who doesn't like The Wizard of Oz. But I will attempt to synopsize it. You guys want me to try?
Go for
Sure,
it.
go for it.
I can speak to some of the political context of the original novel, too, if you're interested in that. But we'll start with the film synopsis.
I bet you can, Ben. The political stuff is where your heart's at. Weird guy, Ben. Anyway, this is based on a book by Frank Baum about a spoiled little farm girl played by Judy Garland. Her name's Dorothy. She's whisked away in a tornado, which is still one of the most believable practical effects in old movies that you'll ever see. It's as good as anything in Twister. Granted, you only see it from a distance, but damn, it looks good.
Yeah.
She's whisked away in a tornado to the magical land of Oz, where a good witch, played by Billy Burke, sends her down the yellow brick road to the Emerald City to find the wizard, a man so powerful he can grant any wish, including Dorothy's wish to return home to Kansas with her little dog, Toto. Along the way, she's joined by a scarecrow, played by Ray Bolger, and a Tin Woodsman, played by Jack Haley, and a cowardly lion, played by Bert Lahr. They all join Dorothy for their own needs. They want to ask the wizard for a brain, a heart, and as the lion calls it, the noive, because he needs courage. The quest isn't without peril or setbacks, however, because there is a Wicked Witch of the West, played by Margaret Hamilton, on their trail. She and her flying monkeys will stop at nothing to get Dorothy's ruby slippers, which she got off the feet of the Wicked Witch's sister in Munchkinland when the tornado dropped Dorothy's house right on top of the sister. So, and then unfortunately, once they get to the wizard, they find out he's really not such a wonderful wizard after all. He's kind of a sham. He's kind of a scam. But this is a quintessential fantasy adventure movie. It's given birth to a lot of other formulaic fantasy type adventure movies. And the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow, there's a handful of songs in this movie. And they're all kind of fun, but Somewhere Over the Rainbow is in a league of its own. It's way up there with You Must Remember This. Like, those two songs are, I think, there's no other songs. There's those two at the top, and then there's every other song in a movie. They're that beautiful and that impactful. The cast is really good all the way around, and it's a ambitious film. It cost more money than MGM had ever spent on a film at the time. It was $2.78 million. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough to make a profit in its theatrical initial release. But goodness knows, over the ensuing decades, it's made more than that, because this is one of the most merchandisable and re-released movies in movie history. So I'm going to say my favorite parts, and there's quite a few of them, but the dark stuff is the stuff that we relate with, right? Like you were just saying you liked Wicked 2, Dave, because it was darker. And I love Return to Oz, which is pretty dark. And I think when we talk about The Wiz, the dark parts are going to be some of our favorites too. There's something about these Oz movies.
Flying Monkeys, man.
Even though they're kind of, all of them are for kids and they're fun and they're fantasy, they're also kind of horror movies at the same time. And I think that kind of, I don't know, examining the extent to which children and family films are also horror films would be a very interesting exploration, because I think it happens more often than we acknowledge. But I love the Flying Monkeys. You don't see enough of them. I think because their makeup's a little goofy. Like, that's one picture right there. It's very hard to find good pictures of the monkeys. They tried to execute the monkeys through animation, and they thought it looked a little hokey, so they ended up just going with the best makeup they could put together. But the forest, when the monkeys come to attack and they start tearing up the scarecrow, and they pick up Dorothy and carry her away, that's some pretty scary shit. I love the Cowardly Lion. In terms of the cast, he's a highlight for me because I think he's really funny and sweet. And Frank Morgan plays multiple parts. He's the wizard. He's like the sham guy that Dorothy meets at the beginning of the movie, who kind of tricks her into running back home because she's run away from home at the beginning of the movie. And he kind of gets her to go back by lying and saying he sees her Auntie M crying in her crystal ball, playing on her sympathies. They're probably my two favorite actors in it, although they're all good. And that tornado effect is really awesome. And I love the Winkies. For some reason, my favorite scene is probably when the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion have to get into the witch's castle. And they get into a kerfuffle with three of the Winkies, which are the Wicked Witch's guard. And they end up in the Winkies' costumes, insinuating that they won the fight. And then they follow all the other marching Winkies. Oh. I love that little part. And then you see the Cowardly Lion's tail sticking out of his costume, and Toto. I don't know why, but that little part, that little scene of those three guys sneaking into that castle, those costumes and the just like emblazoned in my brain at a young age. And it's just like, whenever I'm rewatching the movie, I'm like, hell yeah, that's the coolest part. I don't know why. And I sing the Scarecrow song, I could while away the hours. Like, it just gets into your brain. This movie gets into your brain. But I've talked about it a little bit too much. What are some of the things that you guys like about it?
Have you ever heard how they did the tornado in The Wizard of Oz?
Something to the effect of, they had a bunch of Fuller's Earth on the ground, and they dragged like a hose from the scaffolding above the stage along. That's the extent of my memory. What else do you know about it?
What I read was that they used a women's stocking and they stretched it to a point, and then they blew air up through it with an air compressor.
Whatever works, man. You never know what's going to work. And today with CGI, they'll just go straight to CGI instead of thinking, "Oh, pantyhose."
Right.
That'll be part of the answer. But no, the tornado looks spectacular today. No green screen, no compositing. Like, it's actually there in the background, in camera. And that's just awesome.
I was watching it with my wife, who, again, is from India. So it's really interesting to share this national treasure with somebody who's just never seen it.
Really?
Clue about it, yeah. And, yeah, it's funny because there are so many parallels to my wife's story where, I mean, she's coming from India to America, but she actually came to Kansas first. And when I met her, she lived with a little old lady with a dog just like Toto.
A terrier.
And so I was saying it's you and Schnitzel because that's the dog's name that she had.
Schnitzel.
So she got a kick out of that. But yeah, the sepia tone, like real world scenes, she was watching it, and then when the twister hit, she's like, oh my god, it's actually really intense, like what's going on, like for that time. And because she'd seen the Twister movies with me, and at the time she didn't realize that Kansas is one of the worst places for tornadoes, and she had zero clue while she was living there. But as far as how I saw it as a kid, this film has the distinct accolade of being the only fantasy film that my dad just wholeheartedly loves. Usually he abhors fantasy or horror films or anything like that, but man, he just it's so well written, and just like the subtle humor here and there, and like I love he loves the part where you better get out of here before someone drops a house on you too.
Yes.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's what I love about the screenplay is something I compared to Back to the Future. They're both very economical in how they dole out little pieces of exposition. And in both movies, Back to the Future, you go back in time, and in Oz, you go to another land. But in both movies, there's one world, and then there's the world within the world. And they echo certain characters and elements between the two worlds. Both of these movies do that really well. There's not a lot of fat in either of them.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, get you to appreciate Back to the Future more, Ben.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I don't recall it being kind of the Thanksgiving special, but we did watch it a lot at school, just on like days or like holidays where it's like, oh, we're going to watch a movie at school now. So, okay. There was that, and Turner Classic Movies plays it pretty frequently, I think, on cable. So
when I was in school, all we got to watch was the frickin' Apple Dumpling Gang. Every year, that was the only film print my school had dibs on or something. So we had to watch the Apple Dumpling Gang like 5 times as kids. And it's like, oh man, not the Apple Dumpling Gang again. I get excited. There's not a lot of action in this movie, but what little action there is, I thought they do so well. The whole sequence, beginning with the witch yelling at them and the scarecrow seeing that swinging, grabbing the Tin Man's arm and chopping that rope, and then the chandelier falling on all the guards, and then them all running, and then them getting cornered in that turret type room on top of the tower wall. The whole little chase sequence, it's probably only 30 to 45 seconds long, but I just love that part.
Yeah. And
I started playing Night on Bald Mountain. When I was watching it this last time, I noticed that they played a piece of classical music. Dun, 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 dun. And for some reason, I never realized that's not original score. That's some classical shit they're playing. But I think they wove it into the score. And that kind of also gives it timelessness to go back to music that old. Dorothy's a little weird, though. If I'm going to try and pick at this movie, which is kind of stupid to do so because it works so well and it's such a loved movie that it's almost dumb to try and criticize it. But there was controversy over casting Judy Garland when she was cast in the role of Dorothy because she's a little too old. Dorothy's supposed to be younger.
They wanted to cast Shirley
Temple, yeah,
who was like the biggest star in Hollywood in the few years leading up to this.
And she was only, I think, like 10 years old at the time.
Which is closer to how old the character's supposed to be, I think.
Yeah.
She was under contract with another studio, though. I can't remember which one.
Fox, I bet.
Yeah, but they were going to trade Clark Gable, who was kind of their exclusive person, to get her, and then the deal fell through.
But, and I feel bad for Judy Garland because I think this is the movie when the studio obsessed over her weight. Judy Garland was less than 5 foot tall. So if she gained any weight at all, on screen you were going to notice it more. So someone in the studio was even on record having called her a little piggy with pigtails. So they made her take pills to keep her diet, her food cravings down, to help her sleep, and to give her energy. And she and her, the guy they paired her with all the time, Mickey Rooney.
Yeah.
Am I thinking the right Rooney? That's Mickey Rooney.
No,
it's not
Mickey
the one
Rooney.
from 60 Minutes. The one from that's Andy Rooney.
That's Andy Rooney.
Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland made a lot of movies together, and decades after Wizard of Oz came out, they both would talk about how awful it was being a star at MGM at that time, because they kept them working 72 hours straight sometimes. And they would have to give them so many pills to keep them energetic while they shot that long. And that then to put them to sleep, they would give them sleeping pills to make them go to sleep. And they also monitored what they ate and everything. And they basically gave these people lifelong addictions. Judy Garland developed addictions to acetaminophen and barbiturates. And I think it started on this movie. So in every beautiful little thing, there's some darkness in the making, I suppose. And then if I had to cut anything from this movie, might be a controversial pick, but I think I would cut the little musical number If I Were King of the Forest. It's the only part that doesn't really further the plot at all.
Yeah,
Everything else is there for a reason.
Shoehorned in there, yeah.
It doesn't hurt the movie much, though. But it's like everything else is so purposeful and so here for a reason. And then there's just that little musical number. And I guess you could call it a grace note. But I don't know. I might remove that. But man, otherwise, I can't find much to fault this movie for. It's a classic for a reason. And I have a lot of trivia about it that we could talk about if you guys want.
Let's do it.
Do you guys know what Judy Garland's real birth name was?
Oh, I used to, but I don't remember.
It's easy to forget because I've known lots of times. Frances Gumm.
Frances Gumm, yeah.
So she changed it to Judy Garland when she became an actor, I suppose. Louis B. Mayer insisted she consume only chicken soup, black coffee, and cigarettes, along with pills to reduce her appetite. The poppy fields, you know, when it snows, the snow was made of asbestos.
Oh, great.
They didn't know, I guess, back then. In working conditions, the guilds and the unions didn't have as much power. Buddy Ebsen from the Beverly Hillbillies was originally cast as the Tin Woodsman, but he had an allergic reaction to the aluminum powder makeup. So he was in the hospital while they recast that part with Jack Haley. And though Victor Fleming is credited as the director of The Wizard of Oz, there are actually several people who directed parts of this movie, because back in the studio days in the 30s, it was a factory, man, and whoever got credit is not necessarily who did all the work. They pulled Victor Fleming off The Wizard of Oz to go and direct Gone with the Wind at some point. And among the other directors who worked on this movie were King Vidor, Norman Taurog, Richard Thorpe, and George Cukor. Liza Minnelli, who is the daughter of Judy Garland, ended up marrying the Tin Woodsman's son, Jack Haley Jr. From 1974 to 79, they were married. So I thought that was a nice little connection. The Munchkins were played by 124 little people who ranged in height from 2'3" to 4'8". They were each paid $100 a week. The filming lasted 26 weeks, so they ended up spending $322,400 on the Munchkins. And Judy Garland would joke on television shows when people would ask her. She said the Munchkins were horny, and they drank a lot and fornicated a lot. Maybe it was true.
Have either of you guys seen Under the Rainbow?
I don't know.
No.
What is that?
It's about the Munchkins. You should check it out sometime. It's pretty funny.
Is it like a documentary or is it a fictional?
Man, I don't remember. I think it was a little of both, actually. But
but it's directly it's something about the Munchkins from Wizard of Oz.
Yes, it's about the.
I also have some tidbits about the ruby slippers. They think 4 or maybe 5 pairs were made. They were made of satin covered in 2,300 sequins. One pair is on display at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C.
Seen those.
Another pair sold for $666,000 at auction in the year 2000. And another pair was stolen from the Judy Garland Museum in Grand Rapids, Minnesota in 2005.
Yeah.
A $1 million reward was offered. The FBI recovered them in 2018, and the thief was sentenced in January 2024.
Yeah.
Those slippers were then auctioned off for a record-breaking $32.5 million in November of last year.
It's really a cool story. And if you get a chance, there is a podcast, like a multi-episode podcast about that story. It's called what is it called? No Place Like Home, I think. So you should check it out.
That might be cool. There is one final pair of ruby slippers currently on display at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in Los Angeles. To acquire it, a lot of actors, famous people in Hollywood, pooled their money, including Steven Spielberg and Leonardo DiCaprio. That's my Oz trivia. There's tons of Oz trivia, but I kind of cherry-picked that stuff. I can't find any fault with this movie, and I've grown up with it, so I have to give it a 10. I will say I'm maybe growing. I didn't enjoy it watching it this weekend as much as I've enjoyed it in the past. And I think maybe it's just because I don't enjoy family movies as much as I did, but who knows. I still really enjoyed it, and God knows this movie was important to me growing up, and I've loved it for so long. And it created a formula that's been used over and over again. The book I learned to write screenplays from, it was a book by Christopher Vogler called The Writer's Journey, which kind of distills Joseph Campbell's teachings into like a form that idiots can learn from, because he's hard to understand if you just read straight Joseph Campbell. And all through that book, the hero's journey, they use the Wizard of Oz as the example to pull all things from. So like every archetypal element in the hero's journey you can find in the Wizard of Oz. It's like a crystalline version of that formula. So I adore it. You guys have love. Oh, you gave it a 10.
That's fair. I would give it a 10.
I gave it a 10 too. I always get the wrong one.
Same here. 10 out of 10.
10s across the board.
Well, it's nice to know we can still agree on some movies, Ben. Then we have, there were some animated versions of The Wizard of Oz. Chuck Jones directed one I saw. And I think Margaret Hamilton voiced Auntie M in that one, which I thought was curious. And then in 1978... The Wiz. Universal decided to spend a ton of money and take a big chance on an all-black cast, which had not been done on a big-budget film before. There was certainly a lot of blaxploitation, economical film productions, and they made money. Imagine that. Spend a little bit of money, make a lot. That's like something Hollywood still has to learn and relearn over and over again.
The Wiz, it was the most expensive movie musical ever made at that time.
Yep, $24 million.
$24 million.
Keep in mind that just 2 years later, Empire Strikes Back was $23 million.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm not really sure that all of the dollars made it to the screen.
I don't think so.
But it is a big movie. It does have a big scale. It only grossed half that back.
Yeah,
it
about
made 13
million, yeah.
So it was considered a flop. I was watching the credits to this movie. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I'd forgotten Sidney Lumet was the director. Some like Dog Day Afternoon and Network guy directed this movie.
Yes.
They originally, John Badham from Saturday Night Fever was going to direct. But when Diana Ross said she had to play the part, he's like, you're too old. Because she's like, I think she was in her 20s, maybe even her 30s at this point. He quit over the casting of Diana Ross, and they were able to get Sidney Lumet to come on board after that. So Sidney Lumet is an interesting choice, and I'm not sure he was the best choice, but I'll mention that later. It was based on a Broadway play. They brought in Quincy Jones to do the adaptation of the music. Quincy Jones, one of the most famous music masters out there at the time. The screenplay, did you guys notice who wrote the screenplay?
I did not.
Joel Schumacher.
No way.
Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, The Lost Boys, Falling Down. It was that Joel Schumacher. He'd written a couple of other movies before that. This was like maybe his third film that he wrote. I didn't realize he started off writing. I thought he started off in like hair and makeup and stuff, because he did do some of that. So I didn't know that. Learned something. Also, in the end credits, who did the makeup on these 3 of these guys we see right here, right now? What famous makeup artist started on this movie? This was one of his first big credits. Stan Winston.
Oh.
Stan Winston.
Wow.
So I was like, well, this has a really interesting freaking pedigree, if nothing else. Does anyone feel like synopsizing it or saying anything about what it's about? It's largely the same story, but transposed from like Kansas to New York City. And even Oz is like a run-down, apocalyptic New York City.
Yeah.
And Sidney Lumet, I heard, was drawn to that aspect of it. That was what I think one of the things that excited him about doing the movie was being able to show New York in a different way. And they do kind of change some names and stuff. But I guess the character of Dorothy might be one of the biggest changes. In the 1939 film, she learns that she shouldn't want to run away from home, that there's no place like home. In this movie, it's not so much about where you are, but about who you are. Because at the beginning, I was watching the movie and I'm like, who is this mousy, sad, nervous little Dorothy? Like, what's her deal? And the character arc for Dorothy in this movie, and Diana Ross plays her, is very different. She's a sadder, more morose, less charismatic Dorothy. She sings pretty, but it's really just about a young girl. I mean, she's like not that young really, but it's like her coming into her own, like not being afraid to like speak and to like venture out of her house, to like have a life. I don't know. Her arc kind of confused me, honestly, a little bit. And her character, although she's good, and I think Diana Ross did a good performance, the way it's written, the character of Dorothy, I don't quite understand. I don't quite get a grasp on it.
It makes her like the least interesting character in the movie, just about.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I like these other 3.
I do too.
The Wiz overall I don't like as much as The Wizard of Oz, but it's interesting in the ways that I like it more. And the main way I think is in The Scarecrow, The Cowardly Lion, and The Tin Woodsman all having more character development. They all have more screen time. And their personalities all come across really vividly and very memorably. So that's one reason to like it better. And I think it's as good as 39 with the production design and art design. It's really cool. I'm a big fan of like ruins and bombed out, busted places as settings. And that's what this whole movie is once they get to Oz.
It is. I love the World Trade Center ends up being like the stand-in for Emerald City.
Yeah.
And the Coney Island thing is like Tin Man.
Yeah.
And then at the Cyclone roller coaster, which is all like derelict. And I think like Shea Stadium is in there.
I'm a big fan of all that shit. And the tunnel, the subway tunnel stuff.
The subway tunnel. One of my favorite scenes of the whole movie is the columns, those tiled columns ripping away and becoming sentient.
Even before that, I think the scariest thing in either the 39 or the 78 version, the scariest thing is those red little marionette puppets that grow into these big balloon monsters and start chasing them through the subway. I don't know what the fuck those were, but they were scary.
The whole subway scene is really scary, like with the trash cans coming to life and having the teeth and attacking everybody.
Now, I was real curious after seeing this. I wanted to know what Sidney Lumet thought of it, because I got the Criterion Blu-ray, like fully expecting there to be a commentary or a documentary on there, and there was hardly anything on the Criterion, unfortunately. It looks and sounds good, though. So, and it's hard to find anything on Sidney Lumet talking about this film. But I did find in 2008, he gave an interview with Entertainment Weekly where he said the film was a disaster. And he said he seemed to be blaming himself for it. He said he was trying to turn New York into Oz. and trying to like transpose this fantasy world over New York, and he just didn't think he succeeded at doing that. But that's actually one of the things I thought the movie did best.
I agree.
So I think maybe he just knows the film didn't do that well. And I think he's the classy kind of director who takes all the blame when the ship sinks. You know, he goes down with it, right?
Yeah.
I think it just didn't do well for any number of reasons. But I don't think that was one of them. I thought the turning New York into Oz was one of the assets of the movie. It's long, though. This movie's a little bit more than 2 hours long. And I thought that was a little too long. I don't think all of the songs are great.
No.
My favorite was the first one that Michael Jackson sings. I guess we haven't mentioned that Michael Jackson plays the Scarecrow.
Yeah, he was really wanting the part really badly, and
Yeah.
Quincy Jones was skeptical that he could handle it, and Joe Jackson wasn't a fan of the idea because he was afraid it would affect the Jackson 5.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way he was allowed to do it was they put him up in an apartment in New York and basically made LaToya his like chaperone.
Keeper, yeah.
Yeah, his keeper.
He was only
trouble. He was only 18.
19.
Yeah,
I think 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Very young. His first feature film. Not that he did that many, but he's really good in it.
He's really good at it. I think he's the acting wise, I think he's like the best part.
He's very sweet and endearing. He's kind of playing himself.
Is.
He's very natural.
Very charismatic.
The only people that they brought over from the Broadway version, because it's based on a Broadway musical, were Ted Ross as the lion and Mabel King as Eveline. Eveline, I think.
Eveline, yeah.
Who's basically the Wicked Witch of the West in this movie. And they're both big characters, very Broadway-y. Mm-hmm. So I can see why they may have kept those two. But man, the Tin Woodsman is also really good. I don't know who played him on Broadway. Nipsey Russell. And I didn't know who he was, but I did gather from some research that he was on a whole bunch of game shows in the 70s. At that point.
Everybody knew who he was in the 70s.
He's really good as the Tin Woodsman, because the Tin Woodsman is kind of in this movie a romantic, and he's had other girlfriends or wives, and he cries about some of them, and one of them's called Teeny.
Yeah,
he goes on and on about how Teeny like tore him up and changed him. I don't know. He was a fun character.
Yeah.
The flying monkeys is what you're looking at right there. In this movie, they are leather-clad guys on bikes.
Well, they actually kind of are the bikes, and like the pipes, the headers on the bikes make the wings, for the flying monkeys.
Mm. It ended up getting nominations for cinematography, art direction, costume design, and adapted score. I wanted to point out the cinematography was by Oswald Morris, who also did The Dark Crystal. They originally had another cinematographer, Freddie Francis, I think, was scheduled to do this. And I think the movie started to fall behind schedule pretty early in production, and Universal might have insisted Freddie Francis go, but for whatever reason, he did go, and Oswald had to come in at that point. I might be wrong about some of that, but he didn't start off the original cinematographer, and it didn't win anything, and it didn't make a lot of money, but it sure has, just like the original Wizard of Oz, been something people remember fondly, and it's kind of stuck around and had a whole life after its initial theatrical run. I saw it when I was little and didn't remember it very much. I remembered he's on down the road.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of the music stuck with me all these years. But watching it this past week, I've said what I liked about it. What I don't like is how long it is. I thought some of the music dragged. Diana Ross, I'm real on the fence about. I love Diana Ross, and some of her singing is very beautiful in the film, but her character's just weird, and I don't get it. Richard Pryor's in it, but it's really not a great use of Richard Pryor.
No, he plays the wizard, and he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, and it did seem kind of like a waste of his talents.
Yeah, and Lena Horne comes in at the end, and you don't get a whole lot of her either. And I
No.
thought that it was actually, I thought it was the first half is the best half. After they see the wizard, it goes off the rails a little bit for me. Like that's when it starts to really drag the most. This whole sequence, the climactic third act with the Wicked Witch parallel, this Eveline, went on too long. We were on this set for too long. And Sidney Lumet, man, I love Sidney Lumet movies. I love me some Sidney Lumet movies, but I don't think he was right for this. Because the way he shoots musical sequences is just in a lot of long, wide shots. And that's good when you're trying to get a sense of the overall choreography, but it lacks kineticism, if that's a word. Like the editing in musicals can be powerful. It's just not here. There is editing, but not a lot of it, and it's not used during the musical numbers in any way to kind of bring them to life.
Yeah,
So
it's almost like he was like filming a Broadway play. Mm-hmm. Like you would set up a camera and film a Broadway play.
yeah, that's why I wanted to know more. Like, what was he going for? Like, I don't know. I mean, I liked the movie, and then I thought it could have been better. So I have mixed feelings about it overall. Enough that I'm going to give it a good score, but not a great score.
Are you
it's
not
a 6 for me?
Are you not going to talk about the Field of Poppies? I feel like you can't talk about this movie without talking about the Field of Poppies. I mean, come on.
Well, I remember they just go like they pass like a bunch of prostitutes in like an alcove in New York City, and the prostitutes like blow the poppy dust on them. Is that what happens?
Yeah, more or less. That's it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it happened. It wasn't one of my favorite scenes. I think my favorite scene is the Michael Jackson musical number with the crows. What's
I
it
agree,
called?
yeah.
You can't. I can't remember what it's called, but it was catchy, and I liked it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and Lord knows I could be, it was not from the play. I think it was made for the film. There were a couple of songs in it that were made for the film. So, Dave, what did you think of the film overall? Do you want to give it a 1 to 10 rating?
I would also give it a 6.
And Ben, it sounds like you did not see the movie.
I didn't, but I know there's zero connection. But looking at some of the imagery, especially the flying monkeys, it reminds me a lot of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Maybe.
the Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo one, where because they kind of couch the real world aspect of that one in Brooklyn as well. So just weird genealogy there that I'm sure doesn't actually exist, but.
I think that it's got a lot of creativity in it, and its heart's in the right place. You can tell when a movie's heart is in the right place, and then just for whatever reason, maybe the execution just doesn't work for some people. And I don't know. I wanted it to be better. I was rooting for it, and it pulled off more than I thought it would. So I liked it, but I didn't love it.
I mean, it is fun to watch, and I think pacing-wise, the pacing is pretty decent. It moves along pretty well. The music is kind of hit or miss for me,
Yeah.
and I really think the most disappointing part is Dorothy. Really,
I was going to say the same, and I hate to do that because I hate to pick on a lead actor like that.
yeah.
And I saw in doing my research for it that she really wanted the part, and I think that's what made the movie happen. Like, when she wanted the part, it was like, oh, well, then it's yours. Like, that was going to happen no matter who else was attached. That's why they didn't care if the original director left. She was a big enough name, big singing superstar in the 70s. But this was like the last time she ever did a movie because it didn't do well. I don't think she's done any movies since then. I also wanted to point out that this is the movie where Michael Jackson hooked up with Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones, I also heard, didn't really like working on this movie. He did it as a favor to Sidney Lumet because they got along really well. But he said he did really like working with Michael Jackson. And after this movie, Michael Jackson asked him to produce his first big solo album. And he went on to also produce
His first three.
His first three. What was the name of his first album? I always forget that one. And then Thriller and Bad were the next two. But I always forget. Off the Wall, was that what it was called? I
I
can't
think
remember.
so. Yeah.
So if nothing else, we can thank the Wiz for pairing Quincy Jones with Michael Jackson. It's an interesting movie, and that's better than I can say for a lot of movies. Then we have another flop. A flop that has grown in esteem. I remember when I was a kid, what was I? 11 when this movie came out. And I had seen Wizard of Oz on TV all those times on CBS, and I was like, why? And my 11-year-old brain was thinking the same thing most of the rest of the world was thinking. Why are they making a sequel to The Wizard of Oz all these decades later? Why doesn't it look the same? Why is Dorothy younger? Why does the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion look all... like no one... The original 39 film hung over Return to Oz like a ghost, just like a nasty specter. And there was just... The world was not willing at all to accept any other Oz at that time. But I think in decades after that, we got over that. And we started to see Return to Oz for what it is. Which is awesome! But I think I'm the only one who's seen it. Am I right?
I watched it once in school a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So you don't remember it.
I'm sure I probably have seen it. I
remember these statues for sure.
Exactly. I recognize like these scenes from it, but I don't remember anything about it.
Well, I just watched it again, and this is one I watch every couple of years, actually, because every time I see it, I like it more. But I do remember when it first came out, just being very dismissive of it. And then I think when it first came out on DVD in the late 90s or early 2000s, I watched it again. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. Like, if you watch it on its own terms, as a completely separate movie, disconnected, you can really enjoy it. I will say it's based on the second and third books in the series. It's based on The Wonderful Land of Oz and Ozma of Oz. It's kind of a hybrid of those two books. So it kind of is a direct sequel in some ways, but it's also its own thing. And it's basically about after she comes back to Oz, and she's age appropriate to the book. She's 9 years old. The actor Fairuza Balk was only 9 when she shot this movie. She's having trouble psychologically. She can't sleep at night. She's haunted by things. And Auntie Em and her uncle decide to take her to a experimental doctor who basically is going to give her electroshock therapy. Like, they have her in a gurney, and they've got the electrodes on her head, and they are about to pull the switch when the lightning storm comes and knocks the power out, and this mysterious little girl comes and unties her from the gurney, and they run away from this building together, and it's storming, it's raining, they get swept away in a river, and Dorothy wakes up in the land of Oz again. The other little girl apparently drowned or something. We don't know what happened to her that night. And she's with her chicken Bellina, who you see in the poster right there. So Dorothy and Bellina, all worried about what's going on in Oz because the Yellow Brick Road, when they find it, is all tore up. They get to Oz and they find it like desolate. No one's alive. Everyone's been turned into statues. And come to find out, the Scarecrow sent a key to Dorothy in Kansas that came like a shooting star. She saw the star fall, and she found the key as well. And the key gets her into a room where she meets the Royal Army of Oz, which is one robot named Tick-Tock. And Tick-Tock explains to her what all's gone on. There's the Gnome King feels like he was wronged because all the emeralds in the Emerald City are actually his. And because all the rubies and emeralds and precious stones in the land all come from the mountain where he's the king. And he wanted it all back. And he got it all back and put Princess Mombi, a very bad princess, in charge of the Emerald City. So Mombi's in the Emerald City with her wheelers. Her minions are these guys, you see one there, who have wheels for hands and feet. And that's all that's in the Emerald City. And the Gnome King's away across the Deadly Desert in a mountain. And he's got the ruby slippers, because when Dorothy got sucked back to Oz at the end of the first movie. Apparently, the ruby slippers fell off her feet or some shit. I don't know. Gnome King's got him now. So Dorothy basically has to beat Mombi, who captures her, puts her up in a tower. Dorothy meets Pumpkinhead, Jack Pumpkinhead right here, an inanimate object brought to life with Mombi's powder of life. Dorothy sneaks around and finds Mombi's powder of life and also brings to life this Gump creature that you see on screen right now. It's like a reindeer head attached to a sofa and stuff. And along with TikTok, they all escape on the Gump, fly off the tower, and go across the deadly desert to the Gnome King because they want to bring back to life everyone in the Emerald City. And so the last like half hour to 40 minutes of the movie is this final confrontation with the Gnome King, who makes them play a deadly game where they guess in this big room full of ornaments which of the ornaments are actually people. Like the Scarecrow is an ornament in this room. And if they can guess which ornaments are the real people and touch the ornament and say Oz, that person will come back to life. But there are hundreds and hundreds of ornaments in the room. And so all of the characters take their turn in there and they all fail and they become ornaments. And it turns out Bellina lays an egg in Jack Pumpkin's head and I can't tell what's going on. There it is. The egg ends up being something that bests the Gnome King at the end because he's allergic to eggs. Gnomes are apparently deadly allergic to eggs. So a little bit of, I don't know, what do you call it? Luck, Deus Ex Machina in the story writing saves the day. The story might sound a little muddled. I probably didn't do this movie justice in the synopsis. I love it because it's dark and it's exquisite in its aesthetics. I love the sets. I love the way these characters look on screen right now. I love that the Tin Man's a marionette. I love that Jack Pumpkinhead is a marionette most of the time. Occasionally he's a guy in a suit. You don't see the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, or the Cowardly Lion much. They put them on the poster, and I think that's another reason people were pissed with this movie, is because they wanted to see the characters they knew from the 39 film. They have very, very little screen time, and I don't think two of them don't even speak. So the fact that it's about a little girl traumatized psychologically and being paralyzed, being threatened with electroshock therapy, that's a real threat to try and get away from. Not to mention the fact that her aunt and uncle thought this would be good for her. So not only is she scared of the doctors at the place, like I would be scared of the people who sent me there as well. That's not something the film really deals with, but for me it's there. Nicole Williamson plays the doctor. He also plays Merlin in Excalibur. And Jean Marsh, who plays Queen Bavmorda in Willow a few years later, is the nurse in these early scenes. They both end up playing Princess Mombi and the Gnome King in the Land of Oz, just like people play dual parts in the original 39 film. And then the scene that everyone remembers when they're talking about how scary and dark and creepy and disturbing this movie is when Dorothy is in the middle of the night while Princess Mombi's asleep, snooping around her hall of heads because Mombi has like 30 young women's heads in glass cases. And she like wears heads like she wears costumes. All these heads are sleeping. All these heads are asleep. Mombi's sleeping without a head in her bed nearby. And she finds the powder of life in the cabinet with Mombi's original head, which is Jean Marsh's head. But when she reaches for it, she knocks something over, and Jean Marsh's head opens up and goes, "Dorothy Gale." And then all the other severed heads, you see them right there, start waking up and all start screaming at her. So Dorothy's like running down this hall of heads that are all screaming at her. And then when she gets out of that hall, she sees the bed and Mombi like sits up headless in it. And it's just terrifying. It's one of the more terrifying things you could imagine in a children's film. And I watched Siskel and Ebert's review of this film, and they agreed with a lot of the critics saying this movie is way too scary for children. The critics came down hard on this movie, kind of like they might have some of the other versions of Oz for being too dark for children. It really kind of pushed the limits. But it's for someone who loves making movies and appreciates all of the work that goes into it, when you think about the fact Fairuza Balk was 9, so Walter Murch, the director, was directing a 9-year-old. A talented 9-year-old for sure, but still 9. And her co-stars throughout most of the film are a chicken, which is either a real chicken half the time or an animatronic, and a pumpkin head man who is a marionette puppet or sometimes a man in a costume, and a robot named TikTok who in reality was a man upside down in the suit. So the performer's arms were the robot's feet. And the Cowardly Lion's a man in a suit. He collapsed during the making of the movie because of all the heat from the lights while Dorothy was writing him. There are no human actors. Like, there's no simple performance to get. Like, every scene involved, your best, easiest thing to work with was a 9-year-old human. And everyone else was like a puppet or an animatronic or an animal or something. And they're all in scenes together. Like, this is an ensemble adventure. So when I try to imagine what it must have been like to try and direct a 9-year-old and all these inanimate objects, I just like, wow, that had to have taken forever. It must have been mind-numbingly tedious and hard. And the fact that the movie looks as beautiful as it does and sounds as beautiful as it does because David Shire gives his best score. I watched an interview with him. He agrees it's his best score. It's one of his favorites anyway. Love the score. Love the look. Love the characters. Fairuza Balk is a really good child actor. This movie works for me. It's dark and surprising, and I really dig it. I don't know if I've done it justice for anyone who's never seen it before, but I highly recommend giving Return to Oz a shot if you've never seen it. If you think it's just a silly family movie, you're wrong. You're very wrong. It's dark. If you like horror movies, you might like Return to Oz. Check it out, man. Check it out. I give it a pretty high score. I give it an 8.
Wow.
I just, because I love rewatching it. Rewatching it every couple of years is always a thrill because it's just beautiful. I guess there are these halls, these sets with all the mirrors and the gold. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff too, I think. And I love chickens. And I love pumpkins. So in a way, they made this movie just for me, I guess. I don't know. I just really dig the shit out of it. It's the only movie I think Walter Murch ever directed. Walter Murch is the Academy Award-winning film editor who worked on stuff like Apocalypse Now, both Godfathers 1 and 2, THX 1138, and American Graffiti. He's done other stuff since then, but those were his like real classics. And he was fired shortly into production because it fell behind schedule. And Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas actually went to Disney and got his job back for them. And George Lucas had to promise that if they fell behind schedule again, that he would direct the rest of the movie.
Wow.
And he took that deal. So Walter Murch did come back and he did finish the movie. George Lucas did not have to direct the movie, but I thought it was interesting that Murch and Coppola went to bat for him. And they probably should have because he did contribute mightily to their classic films. It did get a nomination for Best Visual Effects at the Oscars. The ruby slippers are in this book, and that was an invention by MGM. The ruby slippers are not in the original Baum books. So they had to pay a fee to MGM. I don't know how much to get the ruby slippers. But Walter Murch thought if all of a sudden the slippers were silver like they're in the book, the world just wouldn't accept it. So that was the one thing that they had to take from the MGM film. And the voice of Jack Pumpkinhead, who you see up there in the top, was Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son, who I think also helped puppeteer him. So please check out Return to Oz. I really
definitely
can't.
have to revisit this one. I remember seeing it when I was young, just coming away from it feeling like it was just a unnecessary sequel, or it just felt disjointed from what I had come to expect from the 39 film. But yeah,
From the what film?
The 39 film. Yeah, and but everything you're describing, that absolutely sounds like I need to give it another chance.
I mean, it's maybe a little disjointed. But I also feel like I'm not the only one that, like, it seems like over the last like 20 to 30 years, this movie's been growing and growing and growing, and people talk about it more and more and more. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there about people going, "Can you believe how dark and disturbing this movie is?" And it's like, yep, it is. That's Return to Oz. It's kind of cool. That's our trip down Oz Lane. This is a much shorter show than last week.
It was
guys.
a much shorter show, yeah.
It's like
No.
half, not even half, less than half as long.
You know, Scott, I'm shocked that you haven't brought up the Wizard of Oz motif in David Lynch's films.
Well, it didn't. I did think about putting Wild at Heart in the mix tonight, but I don't think people want to know about that. We'll save Wild at Heart for another one. We watched that one together, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or did we watch Blue Velvet together?
We watched both.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, a Lynch episode is going to be hard because I am not always in the mood to watch David Lynch movies. So to think about watching 2 or more David Lynch movies in 1 week actually kind of scares me. I don't know if I can do that or not. I love David Lynch, but there are just some films that no matter, even though I love them, I can't just watch them willy-nilly anytime because they do things to me, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, Robert, better late than never, buddy. Of course you love Wild at Heart, Robert, because it's a good, fun damn movie. Down in Florida with family. No excuse, Robert. Cinema Century comes first. No, I'm kidding. I'm glad you had some family to be with, dude. Wizard of Oz. Return to Oz, The Wiz. I gave The Wizard of Oz the best score, but honestly, I think Return to Oz is my favorite. Like, if I had to watch one, like 3 more times the next year, it'd be Return to Oz, probably. But, I do love the original Wizard of Oz. I think I've just seen it like 100 times now. Like it's ingrained in my memory. There's not a whole lot of it that I don't remember. Like there are no more surprises in it for me. I remember when we finally got it in high definition, we could dispel that myth that there's a scene where someone hangs himself in the background.
Oh yeah.
You remember hearing about that?
Yeah.
I think it's after
like
they pick up the
urban legend.
Tin Man. Yeah, because on video it kind of does look like someone's jumping off a stool or something and hanging themselves. But in high definition, you can see it's just a crane, a bird, like moving its head. Or maybe it was CGI and they're hiding the truth. You know, no, it's a bird. It's a bird. Next week we're doing a really fun show that I've already started watching some of the movies for because it's Ray Harryhausen.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a fan of Ray Harryhausen, we've picked out 5. Valley of the Gwangi,
I'm excited for that one.
which is arriving in a few days and I've never seen, so we'll all have seen that one by the time I see it. I'm worried about that one, guys. It does not look like it's going to be one of my favorite Harryhausens, but I'm counting that you guys know something I don't.
I mean, it's not one of his better known movies, but it's cowboys and dinosaurs. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Robert! You got to see Return to Oz, man. Yeah. Robert's seen so many, I'm shocked. It's only because you've seen so much, Robert, that I'm surprised you haven't seen Return to Oz. Check it out, man. I'd be surprised if you didn't like it. It's so creative, so creative. Anyone that makes movies, I think, will, at the very least, appreciate the hell out of how complicated it was. But Harryhausen, we're doing Valley of the Gwangi, and we're doing Clash of the Titans, and we're doing The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and we're doing H.G. Wells' First Men in the Moon, and Jason and the Argonauts. I think that's the 5. There are others, but these are the ones we picked, sort of somewhat arbitrarily. Of course you're a huge fan of Ray Harryhausen, Robert. That's awesome. Now, I've watched a couple. I watched First Men in the Moon recently and Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and I'll just say they're not like my favorite movies. None of them are. Clash of the Titans is almost a favorite movie, but they're such comfort. Harryhausen movies, I guess just films from the 50s and 60s, the way they look, the innocence, I don't know. They're like a warm blanket that you just kind of wrap yourself up in and enjoy the shit out of. And plus, some of them have great scores, and you guys know how much I love great scores.
Yeah, I've seen all of them except Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
You gonna be able to check it out?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that was one of Romero's favorite films. I know it had some kind of effect on his inspiration at some point, but
It's pretty cool. I'll also say I've been watching some other shit. Have you guys seen any movies not related to the show in the last week or so?
Now You
Nope.
See Me, Part 3.
Oh yeah, that one. Did you see parts 1 and 2?
I saw Part 1. I did not see Part 2, and I believe it was kind of integral to watching Part 3. So I was a little lost.
I've seen part 1. I didn't like it enough to see part 2.
I didn't like it enough to see Part 2 or 3. Yet there I was.
Oh, Dave.
I paid for the ticket, so I watched it.
Oh. Well, I watched the 2 Timothy Dalton James Bond movies because I'm going through all of those, and I liked them more this time than ever before. They really were not my favorites before, but like I've often said, man, I watch things today and I feel completely different about them, even if it was just 5 or 10, 20 years ago. If I didn't like it then, I might love it now, and who knows? Now I like the Timothy Dalton Bond movies. I enjoy both of them. So, and then this week I'll start the Pierce Brosnan ones. I'm really having fun with the Bond movies, man. You guys should watch them again too, and then we can have a Bond episode. We're gonna have to have like 4 though, because there's too many Bond movies to do in one episode.
There's a lot.
But I really enjoy the heck out of them. I also checked out Rampage, William Friedkin's Rampage that came out in like 87 or 89. It's a movie that like sat on a shelf for a couple of years, and it stars Michael Biehn as like a investigator on the case of a serial killer. And I have mixed feelings about that one. It's definitely a lesser William Friedkin movie, but it is interesting at least. Friedkin never did anything safe. He was always trying to be interesting, but sometimes interesting's enough and sometimes it's not. So I don't know if it worked for Rampage or not. And then I also rewatched a Hammer movie that I liked more this time than in the past, The Curse of the Werewolf. With can't remember the actor's name, but he's in Gladiator. I liked it a lot more this time than in the past, and I didn't dislike it before, but it was one of my lesser favorite Hammers. But then watching it this time, I was like, no, this one's pretty awesome, actually. So I'm really having issues with myself as a film critic because I don't agree with myself very often anymore. If I see it now, I don't agree with what I thought 5 years ago. It's like, what the hell am I reviewing movies for? I'll think completely different about it if I see it again. So I guess just be humble if you're reviewing movies, because you never know. Roger Ebert gave a shitty review to Unforgiven, but then when it won the Oscar, he watched it again and he was like, yeah, I was wrong. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just what mood you're in and when the time comes, you know.
I pulled that shit with my mom, too, because we went to see Who Framed Roger Rabbit when it came out in the theaters. I was 14. My brother was 11. And she was sick. And she was in the bathroom most of the movie. And when it was over, she said it was the worst movie she'd ever seen. And I was like, but you didn't even see very much of it. You were shitting through the whole movie. And later, when it was on cable, it was on, and she was enjoying it. So I was like, see, you do like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You just had diarrhea that time we saw it in the theater. So definitely, diarrhea at least can affect your enjoyment of a film.
I hope your mom is listening tonight.
She's probably not. It's past her bedtime already. They're old people. So I want to thank Robert for joining the chat tonight. If you're not able to join the chat, we do still appreciate you watching the show. Last week was a big show for us. We can tell now that it was our most seen show. So we are definitely going to do a 1981 show where we go through the movies of 1981. We're just trying to figure out when we're going to do that, because a show like that requires more prep than usual. So we can't do that kind of every week, unfortunately. But I hope you enjoyed our trip to Oz, and we hope you'll join us again next week for Ray Harryhausen. You guys want to say anything before we play the credits?
Ben, got anything?
no, I think that does it.
I guess not.
All right, then. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.
Yeah.